Well, thank you so much, Justin, for making time. Welcome to the Finjan Show. I appreciate you taking the time to share with us your story and your insights about your entrepreneurial journey. My name is Faris, and we're happy and delighted to have you. So, Justin, welcome.
Yeah, it's the afternoon, so I'd had my Finjan if it was the morning, but it's in the dishwasher right now. So I'd like to have a coffee with you, but it's too late to have coffee in the day. That wouldn't be a good idea.
No, that's cool. So you know what that Finjan means. That's awesome. Thank you for digging into that.
Well, I'm a high fact finder. I'm a high fact finder in Colby, and I was a journalist for 20 years. So anyone who doesn't do research before an interview, I like to actually know who I'm talking to and what they're talking about. So it's important to me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I always tell people, it takes me like 2 to 3 hours to get someone on, and they're like, really? Don't they just fill out the form? Like, well, it's a little bit more than just filling out the form. We usually do make sure that they're legit and they exist, and there's nothing, awkward or weird that we need to be aware so we can address. But that's about it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that, Justin. So it will be awesome for the audience just to hear, as you know, the show is, we're trying to bust any myths about entrepreneurship. I'd love to hear just your journey. Just maybe you could share how you started where you are today.
Yeah, so I'm an 8 fact finder, but I'll try not to 8 fact finder your answer because it'll go on forever. But so I was a journalist for 20 years and created my entire business model based on how PR firms annoyed me for 20 years. And a little over 4 years ago, had job salary cut in half, couldn't find a job, incorporated while I was working full time at half the salary, reached out to 5,000 people to find my first 5 clients. So 1 out of 1,000 said yes, 999 no's for every yes. Got 5th client, resigned from my full-time job the next day. And then Robert Feeder, he's the top media columnist in the Midwest. A couple days later did a story. I started my own firm. So that was just to start it. It was 2017. Now I own a global PR firm that only works with the top visionaries on the planet, or the folks that'll make the investment to do so, and just launched a second company that's basically LinkedIn without the BS, just technology for my brain. And so, but started when job salary was cut in half, couldn't find a job. Yep.
That's amazing. And I think to your point, many entrepreneurs, I call them day-to-day entrepreneurs, most times you're starting because of a cause like that, either a job loss or you're forced to it, or sometimes you start as a hobby and then you keep going it and then grows to be a little bit more. Thank you so much for sharing that. Would love to hear a little bit more about this, Justin. So what is it that you do today? Can you tell the audience, like, what's your day-to-day operation look like, or what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm 100% simplifier. So I just hear blah, 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 and immediately simplify it into patterns. I've been like that my whole life. And I'm an entrepreneur who happens to be a journalist. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a PR firm owner. So I don't know what PR firms do other than annoy journalists. And so how my brain works is, I just see patterns. And so the formula for creating a successful global company is very simple, actually. It's surprisingly simple. It's you see a problem, create solution, problem solve, successful global company. So I was a journalist for 20 years, created my entire business model based on how PR firms annoyed me for 20 years. And then the second company I just launched, annoyed by platforms that let everyone in, because at the highest level, people don't have time for that. They just want the connection. They just want the result. So creating a high price point, invite only connectivity platform that's just technology for my brain. And so most people aren't born like that. The 1 out of 1,000 like me are. And then I just realized that after my job salary was cut in half, and then I just keep doubling down on my zone of genius, my unique ability. And so it's always fun. It's very lucrative. It's always exciting, and partnering with the top folks in the world who live in collaborative abundance world and not cost scarcity world. It's just a lot of fun, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, no, I love that. I remember when we were talking before, just creating that kind of platform that brings people from all around the world in a way to come together for such activity. Yeah, I agree. I think many people, a lot of times they think it's scarcity, and the reality is there's just so much abundance that none of us could ever.
Well, I mean, my hat is abundance, so just to land the plane, because you said the word, and I live in abundance, but one of the groups I'm in, it's called Abundance 360, and it's $20K a year to be in it. I'd easily pay, invest $50K a year. Why? Because it eliminates cost scarcity, and it only attracts people that look at things as investments, not costs, and then they're visionaries like me, and then they live in abundance. I mean, it's Abundance 360. But to further answer your question about the journey, the first group I guess I was in was $200 a year. And no one understood what I was talking about because I was never $200 a year group. And then I joined a 2000 year, and then, some of those folks understood, some of them. Then 5,000 a year, then a couple more, most folks didn't understand, but some of them did. Then I joined a 10,000 a year, maybe half understood. Then 20,000, most of them, almost all understand. Then I joined a 25,000 a year, which is strategic coach, 10X. That's the top entrepreneurial group in the world. I'm very confident saying that. And not only does almost everyone understand what I'm talking about, I actually learn what they're talking about at this now. So now I'm actually learning from people. So that's the step. It started at 200, now it's 25,000, and then I'll get to 50,000, and I'll get to 100,000. That's my point. The more you invest, the bigger the return. It's not a cost, it's an investment. Yep.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Actually, I love that. I love that. That if you look, it's one of the things I have always believed in. And it's so nice to hear other people say it. Is if it depends how you look at it. Do you look at it as an investment, or you look at it as cost? So if you look at it as cost,
Right.
then you have a problem. If you look at it as an investment, then obviously then you start thinking, what's the return and all those things. So it's a different question, different equation, different mindset.
Well, it's a different, so if you have the right mind, you just said it. So simplifier to simplifier. If you have the right mindset, it attracts the right network and creates the right opportunities. So I just work on my mindset. You're either born highest performing entrepreneur on the planet, or you're not. Like, most people are not born they're just not born like this, which is fine. But if you are, then I just work on my mindset every day. I just treat my brain like a muscle. I just treat it like a muscle. So I just keep building a bigger and better mindset, which attracts cooler and cooler people who live more abundantly and make bigger investments. And then those people create the right opportunities for me. So then people like you just reach out to me. I haven't done outbound sales or marketing or any gimmicky junk like that in years because I just have the right mindset that attracts the right people. And then they create opportunities for me. And then I make big investments to be in the right room with the right people. And just another fundamental difference. It's a fundamental difference between most people and most entrepreneurs and most business owners. They're trying to change their world. It's a fundamental difference between the people I hang out with now, who are trying to change the world, not their. They've already changed their world. Now they're trying to change the world. And the way I help change the world is I partner with people who are trying to change the world, share their message with the world, and that allows me to help change the world. That's how I do it. I can't help people changing their world. I can help people changing the world, and then they help the rest of the world change. Pretty simple.
That's beautiful. Beautifully said, Justin. So,
Thanks.
we're gonna, clearly we could keep you all day. So we're gonna take just a short break, and we'll be right back to learn a little bit more from you. And thank you for your time. We'll be right back. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us, Justin, today. So my question to you, clearly from what you described, I already know, and you know this already, entrepreneurship journey is ups and downs. And sometimes I used to say, is as high and low as low, and sometimes it's the same second.
Yep.
I'd love to hear from you. Just one of your ups and one of your lows, just one maybe, whatever you like to share.
Yeah, so the worst day of my corporate life, which is also the best day, the day I had my job salary cut in half, that's not even the top 50 worst days of entrepreneur. That's not even the top 50. Again, most people can't do this. That's why they fizzle out or stay small forever, because they can't. And so I wrote an article for Inc. magazine that sums up the one thing that you're talking about in 4 things. It sums up the one thing that you're talking about in 4 things. So I wrote an article for Inc. magazine through Entrepreneurs Organization. I'm an EO. Very, very grateful for that. But so entrepreneurs at the highest level, I have not met one. I'm not talking about small business. I'm not talking about people that stay small and never grow. But the top entrepreneurs in the world, I haven't met one, not one, that hasn't overcome at least one of the following 4 things. Most are 2 or 3, and all 4 ones are really successful. So the 4 things are bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy, 2, depression, 3, the highest level of anxiety you can imagine, and 4, likely and or possible traumatic experience as a child or young adult. So most people, most business owners, most whoever, they just use those as excuses their whole life. Entrepreneur at the highest level, no excuse. Figure it out. So that's entrepreneur life. If you can't do that, don't become an entrepreneur, because that's entrepreneur life.
Very cool. So, and what would be one of your highest points that you would like to share with us? I know you said it's the same.
Highest points?
Yeah.
I mean, so you know what? Thanks for asking that, because entrepreneurs are the hardest people on themselves on the planet. They're the most successful and they're the hardest on themselves. And I actually like to celebrate a lot and live in gratitude a lot. I do a grateful journal on LinkedIn every Monday through Friday. Constantly grateful. You can't be ungrateful. But so just launched the second company that's just technology for my brain, and had a huge launch party at Chicago Yacht Club with an incredible band. My business partner, who's in San Francisco, I'd never met him in person until we met at the launch party. And basically top level entrepreneurs, people in my network, came from around the world to come to this party. And it was incredible. And I'm just very thankful for it. The video just came out. Our videographer did a great job. But I was just thinking about, like, Job Seller was cut in half a little over 4 years ago. Couldn't find a job. Now I have 2 successful global companies because I have a weird brain and I embrace it. But it was awesome to celebrate. It was, with other cool people, awesome people.
Thank you for that. And yes, I agree. And I'm sorry I was not able to make that opening that you had.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah.
I'm so sorry about that. Maybe the next time I'll be able to make that trip. Although
there'll be many more. There'll be many more parties. Well, you know what? What's interesting too is that, again, I've only been an entrepreneur for 4 years or so. I've always thrown celebrations, even at the beginning, because I always looked at them as investments to get cool people together. But always, like pretty much within the first year, I was throwing, at the time for me, they were very big parties and big investments, but I've always done that, always. And I will continue to have bigger and bigger parties, because as you rise, you just keep doing cooler and cooler and bigger things to celebrate with everyone.
Yes, I'm not sure what happened, but I lost you. So I'm back here with my phone. So we'll just keep going.
Okay.
Let's see if I could turn the camera on. Yep, I can. So thank you again for that. Clearly, there's just so many stories I could pull from you, but I'm going to stop just so we could keep this within the 10 minutes that I usually try to keep it within. My last question to you, Justin, if you were to look back 4 years ago, knowing what you know today, what would you tell someone getting started, or maybe yourself, or what would be like a one word of wisdom that you would leave behind for someone aspiring to be an entrepreneur, or they're already an entrepreneur on their journey?
Yeah, so I wrote an international best-selling book with 30 things, and then Chris Voss, who wrote Never Split the Difference, did the foreword. So it's called Epic Business. So if people want a deeper dive into that, I highly encourage folks reading it, because I was a journalist for 20 years, had zero business background. Now I have a global company, just launched the second one. So that's literally why I wrote the book. If there's one thing, it would be do what you like to do and what you're good at. So I only do what I like to do and what I'm good at. Now, I will dovetail that. The folks who have read the book, without exception, they've said the thing that they've gotten out of most of it is only partner with people who look at things as investments, not costs. If someone asks what do you cost or charge, I'll never talk to that person again, because not only are they cost scarcity, but cost scarcity people hang out with other cost scarcity people. So they're toxic themselves, and they're a toxic network. And I have no tolerance or excuses for that. Only an investment, no excuses.
Love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And again, I'm sure we'll make sure that obviously your website on this, and people could follow up with you. I appreciate you making the time, and thank you so much, Justin. Have a great day. Thank you so much for your time.
You too. Very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.